We are talking LA Kings against the Edmonton Oilers with Russell Morgan from Hockey Royalty on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the last 18 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. The LA Kings return to action Saturday afternoon, 1 p.m. LA time, hosting the Edmonton Oilers in a huge late season matchup, the first of two home-and-home meetings remaining for these two rivals. Here to talk about that and more is longtime friend of the show, Russell Morgan from Hockey Royalty. You can follow him on Twitter at hockey_royalty, at least Hockey Royalty. And then obviously they cover the LA Kings. Russell, happy day after the Ducks were eliminated from the playoffs day. How are you doing?
It's a great day. How you doing, Eddie?
I didn't know if I was the only one that celebrated that day, but I don't know. I know it was
I still consider the Ducks among the bigger rivals of the Kings. Obviously, their success hasn't been too great over the last few years or so, but it's still nice to throw a jab or two at them whenever you get the chance.
Exactly, especially when you're like me and you have you're basically your best friend is a Ducks fan. So, I got to throw that out there. And he probably will watch this. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. But we're here to talk about the Edmonton Oilers and, of course, the Los Angeles Kings. Third of four meetings so far this season coming up on Saturday. First meeting, December 28th in LA. Quentin Byfield gets the overtime game winner in a 4-3 win. LA then loses in Edmonton on January 13th, 1-0. Since then, the two teams have been kind of battling for second place. So obviously it's a huge game. But I guess I'd have to say maybe a little luster off the matchup because of the injuries for the Oilers, specifically their top two players. Former MVP and star Connor McDavid's hurt. He's missed the last 6 games. Lower body injury. He's not going to play. And an MVP candidate this year, NHL's leading goal scorer Leon Draisaitl battling an injury. Got re-injured against the Sharks the other day. He's not going to play in this game. So it's still a big game, but with those guys out of the lineup, it kind of feels like the Kings have to win this game now, right?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, and they're also dealing with injuries to Skinner, their goaltender, and I believe Ekholm might not play either. They had mentioned that their trade acquisition, Trent Frederick, might make his debut for the team. I think Knobloch had said it was a slight chance that we could see him, but even if he's in, I mean, like you said, that seems like it should be a must-win game for the Kings. And I think it's almost a game where the Kings need to send a message, even without McDavid and Draisaitl, and let them know, like, hey, we know the big boys aren't playing. We know you guys are pretty much a shell of yourself. It's almost like the Sharks might as well be coming into town with the amount of injuries they're dealing with and the team that they have now. But I don't care. Like, go out there, stomp on their throats, like send a message and let them know, like, hey, there's still this fight for home ice. It's still close, but the Kings seem to own the tiebreaker and have the maybe favorable schedule to end the year. So there's still that aspect of it, but more or less, it's always a battle whenever the Oilers and the Kings get together, and you have to send a message whenever you get the chance to. And I think tomorrow is a great opportunity to do it.
I totally agree with you. It's like, take advantage of this opportunity. If it was reversed, do you think they'd be, letting up on us if we were, missing a couple of our top guys? Of course not. So yeah, take advantage of this opportunity. And I agree with you. Send a message, stop on them, put them out early. Let's beat up on them like we beat up on a few teams lately with 7 or 8 goals if possible. That would be a lot of fun. So let's assume though that McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be available for the playoffs. How important is it for you, for the LA Kings, to get home ice advantage in what is likely going to be the first round playoff matchup? And if they do get home ice advantage, do you think the Kings are the favorite in that series?
Yeah, I think it's important from like a hockey standpoint. I mean, obviously you get the last change when you're home ice, and the success for the Kings at home ice. I mean, they might eclipse 30 wins on home ice in the season, which would be insane. But now it's almost gotten to a point where winning home ice seems like more of a mental win. Because if you lose home ice, and I think you had mentioned this on the podcast with Jesse that you did the other day, if you lose home ice, it's almost like a downer going into the playoffs at this point because there's been so much talk about it. The players have made known of it. I know Darcy Kemper even talked about it after the game a week or so ago. So, yeah, this is a fight that they want to win. This is the fight I'm sure the fans want to win. I mean, Kings fans been waiting for how long to see a game one at crypto.com or Stable Center or whatever you want to call it since for years. So, I mean, we hadn't seen it in these last 3 years against Edmonton. So now that you get the chance to, and you have that success that the Kings have had throughout the year and this balance that the Kings have where you can really throw out any line against whatever line that Edmonton puts out. It's a big part of this success for the end of the season now. I think with 7 games remaining.
And when you consider that the Kings, most of their games remaining are at home, how they played at home, what Edmonton's situation is right now, like to not take advantage of this, I agree with you, would seem like just a big downer. I mean, it's they've got to take advantage of this situation. And that's part of what is important in hockey, not only in a game, but in a season, taking advantage of situations, right? We saw them do that against Utah, when they made some mistakes. You got to take advantage of those situations. So, yeah, I really feel like the Kings have to get this done.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the road record, too, I mean, under 500 on the road, or it might be 500, depending. I don't know what the status is now, but even just the way that they play on the road, they just look like a totally different team, which is weird because my colleague at Hockey Royalty, Joe Paterino, he's dove into the numbers to kind of find some difference and what's missing as opposed to at home and on the road. And there's really no difference in terms of the analytic numbers, the expected goals, Corsi, all that. It's really similar. So it's really strange that there's still this difference in terms of the way that they play on the road as opposed to at home. They're really not getting as many saves on the roads. The save percentage is definitely down a little bit, and their shooting percentage is definitely down a little bit compared to at home and on the road. So I don't know if that's a huge issue or the thing you can really point to and say, okay, well, that's the reason they're losing or not winning as many games on the road. But you certainly see it like just when you watch games at home, and we've been at games at Crypto this year. They look like a totally different team, like a juggernaut at home. I mean, just the other day, the Winnipeg Jets come into town, winners of 9 of 10, the best team in the NHL by points. They made them look pedestrian. They made them look like the Sharks. They had really no juice at all for the Jets. Had no juice at all that entire game, and the Kings shut them down. And then they go on the road, and then Utah goes out and has 16 plus shots in the first period, and they came out lucky to get the 2 points there. So it's really strange. So that's why we point to it being almost like a mental battle that the Kings have been going through, this home and road aspect, and it makes it that much more important to get home ice come the playoffs.
So I've been saying for a while now, it's going to be Kings Oilers. Mark it down, just a matter of time. It's just figuring out where are we going to start the series. And then I look at the standings, and Vegas has lost 2 in a row, and the Kings have won 3 in a row. And the Kings are now 3 points behind Vegas for first in the Pacific. 7 games left for both teams. No head-to-head matchups. But is it possible the Kings could actually win the division?
Certainly possible, Eddie. It's certainly possible. I mean, it's crazy to think about, right? I mean, we hadn't even thought about that in the last couple of weeks, I guess. It's always just like you said, it's always been just previewing the 4th round of the Kings Oilers series. But yeah, you look at the standings now, you have them up on the screen. It's only 3 points back with 7 games remaining. I think someone shared, I believe it was Sinbin Vegas shared, like the Kings would have to go 6-1, and with the Oilers going 4-3. So yeah, I don't know if that really I mean, there's still kind of a big gap there that the Kings would have to overcome.
Yeah.
So I'm not really expecting it to happen, but it's definitely a possibility. The thing is, though, is you're looking at the matchup that would have to take place if the Kings do win the division, and it looks like it would be the St. Louis Blues of all teams, winners of 10 straight, look like world beaters. And I remember I said it once the Blues came into town, those 2 games, the one right around the trade deadline, that was easily the best team I've seen come into LA this season. They played lights out. The Kings really could generate nothing offensively, and even defensively, the St. Louis Blues held their own against the Kings team that finds a way to score goals at home. So, yeah, it's weird because it's kind of bittersweet because to think like, oh man, the division would be great, And then you're thinking like to get away from Edmonton, hell yeah. But if you get the St. Louis Blues, this team that seems to be beating everybody, that's kind of scary too.
How funny things can change, right?
Oh man,
We're thinking we
unreal.
don't want to play Edmonton again. We don't want to play Edmonton again. And now I'm agreeing with you. And just a little tease. If you look at the two best teams since the trade deadline, it's the St. Louis Blues and the LA Kings.
Wow.
And for them to meet up in the first round of the playoffs, the two hottest teams in the league theoretically could be going head to head. So it is wild how things are turning out here. We'll see how it comes out. We've got much more to talk to with Russell Morgan from Hockey Royalty. We'll do that next year on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Then you need to crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that help you feeling fuller longer. It is the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether you're snacking at your desk or on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. If you love cracking open every shell with that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids, whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids. Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, we continue with Russell Morgan from Hockey Royalty. You can check out his work at hockeyroyalty.com. And I mentioned it. We talk about teams playing the right way right down the stretch drive of the season. Since the trade deadline, March 7th, the LA Kings 24 points, 12-3. Only the St. Louis Blues have been better with 25 points, 12-1-1. Hard not to feel good about how the Kings are playing at the right time of the year. And you mix in some wins over Washington and Winnipeg. Oh, by the way, the top 2 teams in the league. I know they were both at home, but again, Russell, it's hard not to feel optimistic about what the Kings are doing right now.
Yeah, this is easily the most confident I felt about this Kings team going into the playoffs over this last stretch. The lineup seems fully balanced with the addition of Andrei Kuzmenko. It's really shuffled everything into place throughout the forward lines, at least. That Kuzmenko's looked great with Kopitar and Kempe. Didn't score any points in the first 7 games, but now he's been almost lights out since then. And then you have that second line or third line, whatever you want to call it, with Deneau, Fogle, and Trevor Moore scoring goals again. I love the goal he scored against Utah because it seems like whenever we see Trevor Moore score a goal, it's either a wrister or some nice pass in the slot. But no, that was just kind of
how many breakaways have the Kings not scored
really
on,
nice
right?
deke.
I was just saying, how many breakaways have the Kings not scored on?
And that was such a weird one too, where she kind of, yeah, it's such a weird one that he just like had to make a move and slipped it 5-hole, but it was great. And then you had Warren Fogle on the other side, and then that other line with Byfield, Fiala, and LaFerriere. So yeah, and then the fourth line that we haven't really talked about. I mean, they're dealing with injuries with Tanner Jeannot and Turcotte out, but even then, when they were healthy, they looked great. So that looks great. The defensive core, we'll see how it shakes up because I was really kind of surprised by Jim Hiller's sitting or scratching Jordan Spence yesterday for Jacob Obrara. So that was kind of a surprise, but I would think he would go back to what we've seen in the past, which is Doughty, Anderson, Gavrikov, Spence, and then Edmondson, Clark. And they looked great. And then not to mention Darcy Kemper, who should be a Vezina finalist. So, I mean, yeah, if you're not confident heading into this postseason as a Kings fan, then I don't know what else you need to see because they look like the best team. And it's almost scary at this point because I'm starting to feel confident and I'm a little worried about it, Eddie. I have to admit, I'm a little worried that we're getting our hopes up a little too much, just be down a little bit. But I think you have to be with the way that they've been playing since the trade deadline.
Well, one thing that has been an issue all season has been the power play. Since the trade deadline, though, 22.2%, 13th in the NHL over that span, 8 power play goals and 36 opportunities. The stats say it has been better of late. Is it kind of passing the eye test with you as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's that, like I just said, with Kuzmenko having that addition. I mean, him alone in the power play has really ignited a lot of the scoring chance opportunities for that top unit, at least. I mean, they were really getting nothing done throughout the entire season. They'd have their spurts, but overall, it was just pretty bad. And so now that you had Kuzmenko, who's really just this creative player that they really hadn't had, and that right shot down low option too that they haven't had all year, that's opened up a lot of opportunities. Whenever you see Kevin Fiala and Kuzmenko on the same side, they're magic together. They seem to create whatever they can. I mean, that goal that Kuzmenko had with that pass to Fiala. I mean, how many times have we seen Fiala make that pass and now he's the one receiving that pass? That's great. And it's really opened up a little bit more opportunities for Adrian Kempe to get that one-timer off that we hadn't seen really, at least in the last couple of years, really. We didn't see it last year because once Velarde was gone, they didn't really have that. And now this early parts of this season, we didn't see it. So now that you have Kuzmenko on that right shot option to have that pass go across the slot to Kempe on the other side, it's there. It's open for them. So if this continues, I was never really too worried about the power play throughout the season, because I've always said, like, it only matters when it matters, right? And we saw it last year. The Kings had one of the better power plays in the NHL. The playoff time, they scored nada. They scored zip in terms of the power play. And now they have been struggling. Hopefully it's the opposite this year. They've been struggling throughout the whole season. So hopefully they can get it going come playoff time, because they're going to need it, because the Oilers, you can keep up with them even strength. We saw it happen last year. But if you aren't able to score when the special teams come, then you're probably going to end up losing the series like you did last year too.
And of course, the flip side of that is the penalty kill. Assuming it is Edmonton and assuming McDavid and Draisaitl are back, that power play can be the difference in a series. We have the more aggressive penalty kill. We change things up. 2 meetings with the Oilers. They were 1 for 3 on the power play in 2 games. So obviously it's a small sample size. But are you feeling that the change in the penalty kill specifically to try and combat what Edmonton does in the power play, are you confident about that? Do you feel better in the moves that were made and that it can be effective against them?
I don't know if I feel confident or better. I mean, when you go up against that power play unit, it's hard to feel confident at all. But I get the change. Like, you had to do something. You had to try something else because it wasn't working. Obviously, the last few seasons in the playoffs. So I get what Jim Hiller and the coaching staff is trying to do there. Like, let's just go this aggressive approach and see if it'll work. The only thing that I get maybe nervous about is when you're trying to be aggressive to maybe players on teams like maybe the lesser teams or whatnot, the penalty kill is definitely going to be better. But when you're trying to be aggressive against players like McDavid or McKinnon or Draisaitl, they don't care. You pressure them, they'll be able to make a move and spin off that pressure and go find an open man. And I believe we saw that on that. You said they scored 1 power play goal. I think there was one of that power play goal that they scored. I think it was a pass across the ice that led it to an easy tap in for them on the power play. So yeah, I'm still pretty nervous about it, but I think it's tough too, because I wanted to see it happen tomorrow. I wanted to see some of these talking points, I guess, in terms of like the new acquisitions, see how they fare against Edmonton. The power play, like you talked about, and the penalty kill. We're really not going to see it without Draisaitl and McDavid. That's it. Obviously, their power play is not going to be as potent as it would be with those two. But I guess you can try to figure things out or try new things, I guess, with these 2 matchups left before the playoffs do start.
When you check those boxes looking at, special teams or what have you, clearly this year, the Kings can check the box of goaltending. Darcy Kemper has been amazing. He was amazing against Utah, won the game for him, basically kept him in the game until they were able to figure it out in the 3rd period. He's been tremendous all season. You mentioned should be a Vezina finalist. We know Connor Hellebuck is going to win it. It might be the MVP of the league, but Kemper certainly deserves to be in consideration. He's been a top 5 goalie all year. When you look at that, it clearly is, right? I mean, and he's won a cup before. We don't even really talk about it, but he's won a Stanley Cup before. I don't care, what type of team you're on. If you're a Stanley Cup winning goalie, that matters. So it's certainly, like I said, a box the Kings can definitely check off this year as being a big advantage for him going into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, compared to the last few years too. I mean, last year was Cam Talbot, and he struggled a little bit toward the second half of the season, and the year before that, Korpisalo. So he didn't really play that well in the playoffs, and he had 1 good game, and then he struggled the rest of the series. And before that was Jonathan Quick, who was been kind of on the sunset of his career the last few seasons. But yeah, now you have Darcy Kemper, this Vezina finalist, who we all hope he would be. I would say the nod goes to the Kings in that matchup. I mean, Skinner, he's played pretty well against the Kings, and I think a lot of it has to do with the way that Edmonton, at least last year, the way that Edmonton was able to shut things down defensively whenever they wanted to. because as soon as they got the lead, the Kings just couldn't really generate anything in terms of offensive scoring chances. I just get flashbacks and haunted by that game. I think it was game 4 that the Kings allowed only 13 shots on goal and still ended up losing to the Edmonton Oilers. That's just unreal. So hopefully now that you do have that favorable goaltending matchup with Darcy Kemper and net, maybe you get a big save here or there that you possibly hadn't had in the past, and then you're able to convert on the chances, this minimal amount of chances that maybe Edmonton does give up this season. Give the nod to the Kings in that battle.
I had said not that long ago, going down the stretch, that we were going to need one of these guys to step up: Quentin Byfield, Trevor Moore, Kevin Fiala. And they've all kind of stepped up together in their own way. I'm feeling pretty good about how all those guys have been playing of late. I know, obviously, Q had that incredible 7-game goal scoring streak. We all knew he wasn't going to keep that up. But just the way they're all playing, I'm confident that at least one of those guys on any given night can kind of step up and provide some of the offense they're going to need.
Yeah, absolutely. The balance that this forward lineup has right now is great. I mean, you look at Trevor Moore. I wasn't really too hard or too down on Trevor at the first half of the season. I know he had struggled; he wasn't scoring as much. But now look at him since pretty much the Four Nations break. He just looks healthy. He looks like that same Trevor Moore we saw pretty much all last season when he scored 30+ goals. And yeah, he's scoring at will now, and he's moving around. He's making those nice little spins off the wall that we're used to seeing. So that's great. Not to mention with Warren Fogle on the other side, who I've been a huge fan of. And I can't wait to see Warren Fogle in a playoff matchup against his former team, because that's the thing too with Fogle that I love about a player like that is it's always good to see a player go from the team that beats that team and then tries to join and help that team out. Like I love when players do that, and especially when it's on the team that you're rooting for. Like with Arvidsson, I think it's the opposite. Like you're joining the team. It's like the Kevin Durant thing. Like you just lost to the Warriors in 6 or whatever, and you're joining the Warriors. That's what I would feel about Victor Arvidsson. So he's dead to me. Like we're done, Arby. Sorry, but now you get Warren Fogle, who's on the other side of it, who's now trying to beat those big bad Imperial Galactic whatever army of the Oilers. Like I love it. So I'm a huge Warren Fogle fan. But like you talked about with Quentin Byfield, I think his success this season had its ups and downs, but overall I think it's been really great, because how like the talk all of last year once they traded for PL Dubois was like, okay, now they're solidified down the middle. Quentin Byfield was still playing on the wing, and they were winning a lot of games. They still got to 99 points on the season, so it was a good season even with the kind of struggles toward the end of the year. But now you got Quentin Byfield, who's been excelling down the middle, which is huge for the future of this club, right? I mean, we've seen Quentin Byfield play really good hockey, but it's really only been on the wing. And now that he's playing a full season down the middle at center ice, alongside your best playmaker, who now in Kevin Fiala, who now they seem to be playing off of each other really well. That's another added, I guess, aspect that this Kings team hasn't had in the past few matchups against Edmonton. So I'd be curious to see how Jim Hiller matches up those two lines against the top lines, I guess, of Draisaitl and McDavid, whether he wants to go with Deneau against McDavid, which I think he's done in the past, or even go Byfield against McDavid, which I would love to see, because we know Byfield's got the speed. We know he's got the reach to play defense, and he's been winning some big draws too. With that draw that he won against Utah for that empty net goal for Drew Doughty, that was really impressive. So if you can put all that together and maybe win the matchups 5-on-5 against McDavid or Draisaitl, and then you allow Kopitar, Kempe, and Kuzmenko to do kind of what they've been doing of late, my confidence is going up, Eddie. The more we keep talking, I'm getting more excited as we go.
I know. We got more with Russell Morgan from Hockey Royalty. We will do that next year on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, and you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check out your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever, as you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com, and you will get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. All right, we're wrapping it up with Russell Morgan of Hockey Royalty. You need to follow him on X or Twitter at NHL Russell, as he is always tweeting out some good stuff. We're going to talk about maybe what he's seen out at practice here lately. But I did want to mention, and you brought him up a couple of times, Andrei Kuzmenko, and I will admit it, I didn't think he was going to have this kind of an impact. I was fine with the move, honestly. It wasn't anything I was, too upset about that they didn't go out and get a bigger name necessarily. But as you mentioned it, 8 games, his last 8 games, he's got 4 goals and 10 points. Like I said, I did not expect this. And he's also helped the Kopitar line to be better. Kopi looks rejuvenated with 5 goals and 14 points since the trade deadline. I did not expect this. How surprised are you that we're seeing this?
Eddie, you're not alone. Jim Hiller just the other day talked about how he never in his wildest dreams did he expect Kuzmenko to perform the way he's performed over this last stretch. I mean, yeah, like when the Kings made the trade and it was only a 3rd round pick in 2027 going back the other way, you're not expecting much to happen. I mean, yeah, you can look back at Kuzmenko's first year in the league where he scored 39 goals and think like, okay, if we can get that player, that's great. But even then, you looked at it, kind of his time in the league since then, he's really had his ups and downs. And I go back to Andrew Noel and I talk about it up in the press box. And we were talking about Kuzmenko the other day, and he had a perfect word to describe Kuzmenko. And he says he's a honeymoon player because every time he goes somewhere new, he just thrives for the first stretch or whatever or so. And then he kind of falls off a little bit. We saw that in Vancouver, where that first year was great. And the second year, I think with Rick Tocchet, he struggled a little bit. Got traded to Calgary, was great playing with Huberdeau and Kadri. Then he struggled a little bit, and then in Philly, didn't really work out too well there either. But yeah, now that he's with LA, it seems he's in that honeymoon phase again, where he's really having a great time. He's talking Adrian Kempe's ear off whenever he gets a chance to, which is great. I'm sure Juice is loving that. But yeah, I think a lot of it too has to do with the impact Jim Hiller has made on this player, and maybe the team as a whole. This culture and this locker room culture that the Kings have built have really helped Kuzmenko become more of a complete player. He's not just this offensive force that maybe a lot of us kind of expected him to be. Because I was with you, like I wasn't expecting him to score like 3 points a night or whatever, or make even those type of plays that he made against Winnipeg, where he strips Logan Stanley of a goal and then beats Connor Hellebuck of all goaltenders 5-hole on a 2-on-1 rush. That's unreal. That's like high elite level stuff. So if you're getting that level of play from Andrei Kuzmenko, a player, maybe a type of trade that really across the league, everybody kind of ho-hummed at, like, oh, they get that type of player. It is what it is. But yeah, he's look at the production he's been able to put up since then. And not to mention, like we mentioned earlier, he's been able to fall everything else in place on the forward line. So I mean, his impact alone has not only helped the team and the line that he's on, but it's helped the rest of the other lines too.
Russell, I know you're able to get out to practice often. I did want to ask you, Tanner Jeannot, Alex Turcotte, been out for a little while now. They keep saying day to day, but we know how that can sometimes go. Are they back on the ice skating at all? Red non-contact jerseys, or any kind of update on those two guys?
No, to be honest with you, it's weird though, because the Kings haven't really practiced really at all. I mean, I think their last practice was just the day before Utah. I wasn't at that one, so I don't know exactly, but I don't believe they skated. Every time we've heard from Hiller the last couple times we've talked to him, I had a chance to talk to him, he's just keep saying that they're day to day. I did see Tanner Jeannot and Alex Turcotte after the game against Winnipeg, and didn't seem like there was anything really bothering them that I could notice from their walking or whatever, and anything like that. So hopefully it's nothing long term, because yeah, it's you don't want to say like you're missing like fourth line players. It's a huge reason, or that you should be losing or have an excuse for that, but we saw the way that they were playing that fourth line with Sammy Elenius down the middle. They looked great. And it was a fourth line that maybe early parts of the season maybe lost a lot of momentum that the other lines would generate. And you go to the fourth line, it was just like, okay, let's just not try to give up a goal here. But no, they were really playing on the front foot anytime they stepped on the ice. They weren't really scoring or really doing a whole lot. I know they got a couple goals in the 7-2 wins against Carolina and Boston. But besides that, they weren't really scoring. but they're still like being productive, being on the forecheck, getting pucks behind the defensemen of their opponents, and doing all that great stuff that you want to see a fourth line do. So to have that and then be able to pass that on to the first or second or third line or whatever you want to call it, that's a huge momentum builder throughout an entire game, that you can lean on that fourth line and not have to shorten your bench a little earlier than you probably would have earlier in the season.
He is Russell Morgan. He covers the LA Kings for Hockey Royalty. You can follow him on X at NHL Russell. Check out his work, and the guys over at hockeyroyalty.com. Russell, always great to chat with you. Appreciate your thoughts on doing this. I know it's hard to hide our enthusiasm. We're getting excited.
Am I doing a good job? Am I hiding it? I don't know.
It's understandable. And I know as Kings fans, we all kind of try and temper our enthusiasm a bit. But like I said, it's hard not to be excited right now about the way this team is playing. We'll see what happens on Saturday, but we'll see you out there at crypto.com arena. But thanks for giving us your thoughts, and hopefully we'll check in as the Kings go on a long playoff run here coming up in the postseason. That would be nice.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Eddie. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Russell. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Always good to have Russell Morgan on the show. For you everydayers, those of you who listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up Friday night, Saturday morning, we will have a show for you, our weekly Kings fan feedback show. In addition to this show, I wanted to make sure we did some sort of a preview on Kings Oilers because it was such an important game, and I'm glad that Russell could join us to help us do that. And then, of course, on Saturday, we will have a recap show of Kings Oilers. It'll be a few hours after the conclusion of the game. I'll be out there at crypto.com arena once I get back home. Then we'll record the show and hopefully talk about a nice, convincing win over the Edmonton Oilers. Once again, it's at 1 p.m. LA time start time. I believe it's going to be on the FanDuel Sports Network locally, ESPN Plus nationally, and you can listen to it on the 710 ESPN app. You want to get an email in for the feedback show, there is still time if you do it quickly. LockedOnEddie@gmail.com is the email address, EDDIE, and you can always leave your comments if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section. And stay connected with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We are at Locked On LA Kings. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks as always for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you on our next episode. Until then, go Kings go.